Hey guys, hello and welcome to SkyTour LiveStream. I have just gotten back from Nevada early this morning. I had a conference to speak at. It was actually called Mega UFO Con. It was a varied conference. It had a lot going on. And joining me tonight is Daryl Mason. Daryl, what's happening, man? How you doing?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
Oh, fine. So hope you guys are doing okay out there. I see that we had Marco was first. He gets the he gets the award for getting here first, which is great. And then we had Tom DePretty show up, and we had David Schmidt show up. So it's nice to see you guys. And I am currently, we have the view right now is on this guy right here, and that is an asteroid, and it's right near Arcturus, which is the brightest star in the constellation of Bootes, Bootes. And Bootes is a really Bootes is a sheep herder, or the goat herder, the sheep herder. I think is a sheep herder, right?
Herdsman, I think, at least. That
Yeah.
covers all the bases,
There
you
you
know?
go. Yeah.
Yeah.
So just for fun, right off the bat, I'm gonna do 10 seconds at 2,000 sensitivity just to take a picture of Pallas, the asteroid. Pallas is Pallas.
Cool.
And Daryl and I were talking about Pallas today, and Pallasites, which are meteors that people assume are from Pallas. But the fact is, they aren't, are they, Daryl?
No, they're not. It's sort of a coincidence. I mean, meteors, especially, meteors tend to come from asteroid collisions, and, well, you might think that Pallasites come from Pallas, but it's just a coincidence. Pallas was the second asteroid ever discovered uh, by Heinrich Olbers in 1802, I think, and a guy named Peter Pallas, a German scientist, was the first to investigate Pallasite meteorites. So it's just coincidence that the guy's last name is the same as the name of the asteroid.
Yeah, Peter Piper picked a pockmarked pack of Pallasites.
There you go. Pallasites are the prettiest darn meteorites you've ever seen. Uh, I can't post a picture here, but if you just do a search for Pallasite, Pallasite, look for images. They're nickel iron meteorites with amber to green olivine crystals embedded inside them. And when they slice them and polish them, they just are absolutely beautiful. I read an article last week about one that was discovered in northwest Missouri. The thing weighed 17 kilograms, which would be about 36, 37 pounds maybe, and it was worth $850,000.
Oh, man.
So
Oh, I need a Pallasite.
you and me both. I have a little tiny piece of one. It's about as big as my little fingernail.
Really?
That's about the best I could do. I'm too poor for $850,000 meteorites.
Yeah, me too, I guess. I'm certain of that. But, well, let me see if I might be able to get us a Pallasite image here to just show folks what we're talking about. Because I know the Pallasites are really, I know they're really valuable. I know they're amongst the most valuable of meteorites.
Uh-huh.
Now, of course, I have a chunk of iron that weighs 1,600 grams. Can you imagine how much that would be worth if it was a Pallasite?
Oh, golly.
Yeah, I'd multi-millionaire.
Almost.
Yeah, I know, right? Yes, sir.
There is a place out in the middle of nowhere, Kansas. I forget the name. They had a huge palisade fall there. They've been recovering them ever since. One of these things, I forget. It's like 1,000 or 2,000 pounds. It's huge. It's on a display, and they had a tornado there some years ago, and they
Wow.
thought the tornado carried off this big meteorite. It turned out that it just was buried under all the rubble, and it's still there. And I mean, good grief, imagine a meteorite, 1,000, I forget how big, 2,000 pounds. The thing is huge.
Wow.
Uh, and they found other large ones in the area too.
Mm-hmm. Let me see if I can find this picture for you of the Pallasite.
Okay.
I know that the picture, the palisade is here to show you. Let me just grab this here. Let me see if I got it. Pardon me, folks, while I do this here. Is that it? There we go. So there we go. This is what the palisade looks like right here. Okay, that is a palisade. That is a thinly sliced meteor, and you can actually see that it has this look we were talking about and telling you about. Daryl was telling you about, and I believe these are the olivine crystals in here, Daryl. Yes,
Right.
I'm pretty sure. And
sometimes they're amber, sometimes they're green.
it depends on how
Isn't
the
that
photo was
beautiful?
taken. It is gorgeous. Yeah, but this is a palisade, guys. This is the type of meteor that comes from this very place we're looking right here. This is Pallas. All right here. That's the asteroid we're looking at, and the pallasites, of course, don't come from there. But that's as Daryl was saying. I don't want to confuse you there. And I almost did. Hey, well, welcome, Dee Dee. It's good to see you. Tom Brown's here. I see W's here. Carolina Sky, welcome. Thanks for coming and hanging out with us for a while. Tom Brown's here. And telescope for beginners. That's a good question, Tom. You have just the right two guys to help you with that, I believe, because I've probably had a number of entry-level telescopes in the past. Now, of course, we have a professional observatory instrument, but what did I start with? I started with a nice 2.4-inch refractor, believe it or not. And nowadays, it's actually a really good option for you to actually go and buy one of the entry-level Celestrons or other telescopes in that arena. They're little tiny reflectors that are actually quite good. And I have numbers I could give you in terms of both price and in terms of the make and model of these things. And while I'm hunting those down, Daryl might have some ideas about what might be interesting also for a telescope, a good entry-level telescope.
Oh, entry level. You know me and Dobsonians.
Yeah.
Go to Orion Telescope and look for the 6 or the 8-inch Dobsonian, the basic version.
Yeah.
You can get in for that 6-inch, maybe $200 or so.
Yeah.
And it's always a good idea to invest in a few eyepieces also. You can get budget eyepieces to begin with.
Yeah.
The 8-inch Dob will get you years down the road.
Yeah, I agree with that. And the other thing you can do, Tom, if you want, you can check out Orion telescopes, like he said. There's also OPT telescopes out there in the West Coast as well. And you might want to think about getting something like the Celestron Astromaster. Now it's the Astromaster 114. It's an equatorially mounted telescope, so it already is ready to follow the sky. It's set up to do so. The mount is such that it can do so. So it's pretty good. Now, if you want, you can also get the Planewave 5-meter telescope. It's actually a 0.5-meter telescope. And that's only $50,000 if you want.
Oh, yeah, sure.
The Celestron Astromaster is $149 though, so it's pretty good. And if you want to step it up a bit, then there's several successors to that. And there's lessers too. You can get the Celestron Power Seeker, which is actually they sell that at Best Buy, believe it or not, $135.99. And if you really want something that has the ability to kind of just go seeking out anything you want, well, then you can get like a Celestron Nexstar. All right, and the Celestron Nexstar that comes in a 6-inch version, I think, and I think even a 4-inch version, and they're pretty good, and they automatically do it. They automatically go wherever you tell them to. All right, and they're in the range of between $400 to $600, I believe, for those. So you see, you've got all these options right at the beginning there, Tom, and I think that's a pretty good idea. And for those just joining us, we're looking at Pallas. What's Pallas? Pallas is one of the asteroids in our solar system. And this is Pallas right here. We're checking it out tonight. Actually, that's not the live view. Let's go to the live view so you can see what it looks like directly. All right. And there we go. There's Pallas. Okay. Now, we've talked about this before. Planets and asteroids don't flicker, but this one is. How come? Well, because it's actually low in the sky. It's kind of low right now. And again, if you're just joining us, I came back from Nevada early this morning, and I was telling Daryl before we went live that this temple on my glasses no longer bends because I ended up we hit some turbulence on the way out, and it slammed my head into the window so hard that it broke the glasses, and so I had to buy super glue when we landed, and I super glued the darn things together. Yeah, that's crazy. So anyway,
2 words.
yes.
Zenni Optical.
Oh, I know. Yes, you're right. Zenni, Zenni. Zenni Optical allows you to buy frames that look like they're very, very wealthy frames for like $25 to $40 for your glasses with prescription. Okay, and I don't know if shipping is extra, but man, I got slammed really good. You know, and because it was a transverse shift, the plane actually went like to the left and the right very fast. You know, and I happened to be leaning. Look, I'm an astronomer, guys. You know this. I was leaning under the window and cupping my hands, and I could see, again, when you're up at 36,000 feet, you're above all the haze, and the sky is stunning. You know, and so I was looking at the Milky Way through Orion, really enjoying the view. And when they dim the cabin lights, you know, that is just incredible. And it's Zenni, Zenni, David, Zenni Optical. And you can get you can get frames in like every color, and like say you get them in every color of the rainbow, you know, or the primary colors if you wanted to. Thank you, Daryl, for putting that out there. And you won't even approach the cost of a single visit to the eye doctor and getting glasses through them. And I hate to say that because my eye doctor, I went to school with him. He's a fantastic guy. But when it comes to actually providing me with the hardware so I can see, you know, these are not Zennis, but if they were Zennis, I wouldn't feel bad. But these were Ray-Bans, and now they're ruined because of a little turbulence that the Zennis could have just, if they broke, oh well. I got my spare pair. I can carry 2 or 3 extra pairs just because, you know, so that's pretty good. That's pretty good. So, as we said, this is Pallas, and it's near the star Arcturus, which is the brightest star in the constellation of the sheep herder, I think. And what are we talking about? Let's go see it. So if we go out to our view here, here is Arcturus right here, and there is Pallas. See that? So Pallas is a nice asteroid that's out here. You can even read the details of Pallas right here. Pallas is one of the brightest in the sky too. In fact, that you can see it with a pair of binoculars without any problem. You just have to know what you're looking at, you know. But this is where Pallas is right there. And we saw it earlier, actually it's a few minutes ago. And it's actually, if we were to take pictures of it, in fact, I'll take some pictures and see that star there. I'm going to take another 10-second photo right now at 2,000. All right. And you might wonder, well, why am I taking these photos? I'm taking them so you can see it move. Okay. And it's getting higher in the sky all the time. It's not setting. So this should be pretty good, you know? So let's see.
I'm looking forward to this. Some of you all might remember Mark imaged a comet. Was it Wortman recently that
That's right.
we could actually see it track over the course of time?
That's correct. We could.
Yeah.
Yep. And it took, in 45 minutes, we noticed that it moved quite a distance. So we'll try that. We'll see if we can do that here too. And so far, I believe that, you know, we're looking right at our intended target. You may notice that we don't have dome cams tonight. It's not because they're not working. They are. But the broadcasting software that we're using has stopped paying attention to them. So I have to figure that out. And that's just making me crazy. But I spent about 3 hours today trying to figure that out. And the very camera system, and not the camera, the very computer system that we're using, when I was out in Nevada, it apparently had crashed. And when I came back, it didn't work at all. So that was all of my day today, was getting this computer back up and running, because I will not be without the ability to do a SkyTour LiveStream. You know, you guys are really worth it, you know. So I'm glad you guys could join us. I see D. Smith is here. Welcome. And we have DJ K Solo. Welcome. And hope you're enjoying yourself. James Dugan, good day. It's nice to hear from you. He's from Down Under. He's also a really good guy. And we see him on other streams, too. He's really interested in astronomy and science, and that's the beginning. You got to be interested. When I was in Nevada, we had a bunch of talks, and people were talking about the secret space program and all these other things going on. And the bottom line is, I was thinking, there's no proof of any of these things, and I don't want to sound like I'm just a denier, or just if I don't see it, I don't believe it kind of guy, because I'm not that way. I believe that there's alien life out there, and I even believe they could be here. There's no reason they can't be here. No reason. The Earth is 4.6 billion years old. Okay, the universe is 13.8 billion years old. If you do the math, and you subtract 4.6 from 13.8, over 9 billion years of the universe had already passed before we were even a blink in the cosmic eye. And now, when we're here, the bottom line for us is that we now see ways to go interstellar after only 5,000 years of our written history, going back to the Sumerians and the early tablet language that was invented called cuneiform. And in that case, because of that, we see that, maybe we are on the cusp of going interstellar at a very young age as a civilization. Yet out in the universe, they could have been, oh my gosh, they could have been in existence and doing things for 8 billion years anyway. One of the oldest exoplanets that we found so far is over 12 billion years old. Can you believe that? 12 billion. Did you know that, Daryl?
Yeah, yes, sir, I did.
See? Yeah, not much gets by Daryl. That's why I like to have Daryl around, I hope you guys...
almost got by me.
No.
I'm sorry. Carry on.
I hope you guys enjoy Daryl on SkyTour Radio with us sometimes when he comes on with me and Amanda. I mean, he really adds an awful lot to the conversation. Hey, Dagger Spells, how's it going? Good to see you here. And Tron Man, welcome. I see you here. So, as I was saying, and there's a question out there. I saw a question about whether there was a civilization here, and that was Tom Brown again. Was there a civilization before the Sumerians? I don't know, Tom. To be honest, I don't. First of all, I'm one of these people that believes that the pyramids could easily be built by humans. It didn't need, for instance, alien intervention. Okay, and I know that's not Sumeria we're talking about, but if we go back to way before there was actually countries, when it was just tribal lands, tribal nations, and pockets of humanity on this planet, we find there's petroglyphs, that are pecked into the rocks, telling stories of the day. Does that count as communication? Does that count as storing language? Well, I don't count it as that. It's a picture of their culture. But Sumeria was a central point in society at the time. It was a central point. And I think that when we consider that as a central point at that point, we had a lot of people contributing to the language and the culture at that time in that region. So scattered cultures, like in the heart of India at the time, in the middle of Italy at the time, down in South America and in the Yucatan Peninsula and in Mexico. None of those countries existed at that time, but at that point, these scattered cultures did not associate with each other. Yet, I discovered in looking at not just literature, but in historical records from each of these locations and each of these cultures, every single one of them, in their images of their deities, showed the deities with halos. How in the world would they have known about a halo unless it was something that they saw? I think maybe uh, it wasn't a civilization that might have been here before us that was human. Perhaps there were visitors from other worlds that had made it
Spa-
here.
Space helmets?
Not space helmets. I don't think. I think space helmets would have been something that they would have been able to dispense with. I think that it wouldn't be helmets per se, but maybe a field
Right,
around
right.
them.
I understand. Sorry.
No, that's okay. But think about a field that could be like a biohazard containment field or something like that, just to keep things away.
Sure,
I mean,
sure.
we see that now. We see that, and actually, in a primitive way, we actually have that now. We have we use UV light, for instance, to sterilize things. Okay, well, we don't contain it in a spherical area around our head, but maybe we could. Maybe we could use it, and maybe we could make it so it doesn't harm us. We could use a different, maybe it's a different shift of the frequency. You know how they have the rays, UV rays. There's the UV types of ultraviolet radiation. Different types mean more or less for us in terms of cancer causing. Well, we're humans, but another civilization might not have that issue, and they might be able to use it to help get rid of all kinds of germs and so forth, so they could actually explore unimpeded. And if a society saw this, then I wonder if they simply copied it. Now, Dave Schmidt, you bring up a good point. Maybe it's their way, these ancient peoples, maybe it was their way of symbolizing, as he says, a superior intellect or some kind of advanced power. Maybe so. Maybe so. But do you think all the different disparate societies would use a halo around the head? How about a halo around the whole body, maybe? How about an aura, But no, it's a halo around the head, David, and that's the thing which really, really intrigues me. And I broke that news in Denver when I did a talk on petroglyphs some years ago. And now people are still looking into it, and I'm letting them. Hey, go for it. Run with it. I don't mind. I just think it's pretty cool.
May I throw something in there?
You may.
This isn't on halos, but talking about ancient societies, really ancient societies.
Yeah.
Perhaps y'all have heard of Göbekli Tepe before.
Oh, yes.
Which
there we
is
go.
the ancient site in Turkey discovered a few years ago. It's estimated to be 10,000 years old. And there are figures carved on these rock stelae, I guess you'd call them for want of a better word, of various critters. One of them is the scorpion. And it just hit me instantly when I first saw that I bet they were representing Scorpius in the sky there. Scorpius being one of the most ancient of all the constellations. Would not surprise me a bit if that scorpion actually represented Scorpius in the sky.
Oh, I bet that's true. And I just stuck something in the chat here. It talks about the Wandjina down in Australia. The Wandjina were represented in cave pictographs, paintings on cave walls. They were round-headed creatures, sometimes with no body, mostly the head sometimes. And they actually had a very large black eyes, sometimes a little tiny hole for a mouth, and they were shown with these ubiquitous halos around their head. And the Wandjina were said to come from the sky, live in the ocean, but have full mastery of the water. And there was a and I talked about this too at my talk at that point many years ago. This was the Wandjina myth includes a story about two boys who were torturing an owl to death. And the Wandjina turned around and wiped out the boys' Aboriginal village using water. So you see, I think that's pretty interesting. And James Dugan says, yeah, Aboriginal spirits from the Dreamtime. Yeah, exactly right. He knows he's there. He's from Oz. He's from Oz. He knows these things. I studied the Wandjina as well. My bucket list is to get to Australia. I want to go to Uluru, which is Ayers Rock. I want to spend time with Aborigine people. And the funny thing is, I make and play didgeridoos, and I've been playing them for like 10 years. And I absolutely love that sound, that, and when you get that going, it really is an amazing sound. But That's just music and sound, but you tell stories with the sound, and I've been looking at that, for some time now, and doing that for some time. So anyway, that said, I think that the Wandjina myth is one that points out that something that I say as follows. Maybe they were just making up a myth, and maybe it was a Dreamtime myth, or maybe it was an observation and then passed down generation to generation. It was maybe exaggerated a little bit here or there, but maybe remember, all these myths generally have a seed in the center from where they started of reality. So what was the seed for the Wandjina? I've often wondered, So it's interesting. It's interesting. For those joining us who haven't seen this yet, this is the asteroid Pallas that we're looking at. I'm gonna take another photo now. 10 seconds at 2000. The idea is to actually see movement of Pallas over time. So we're taking 10 seconds shot right now, and we'll see.
May I say, Pallas is going to be in opposition this Saturday. That's when it will be closest, biggest, and brightest to Earth. It's close now. It'll be a little bit closer on Saturday.
Okay.
And just to say so, that's why we're looking at it.
Yep.
Hopefully, we'll see some movement here tonight.
Well, I'm also taking care in case it's in the field. It's gonna be one of the brighter objects in the field. But I'm watching all the different objects to see if I see movement among them and between them. Do you see movement?
Interestingly, when Olbers was when he discovered Pallas, he was actually looking for Ceres, number 1 asteroid Ceres, and he happened to see something else moving in the field of view, and it turned out that it was Pallas.
Interesting. Hey, look at this. See this image right here we took? Okay, now let's go up to this image. See the difference? See how this is farther away than this? See how this distance here? Okay, now watch. That looks markedly different, doesn't it?
A little bit.
So we're seeing Pallas, folks. This is Pallas moving. It's the brighter one, and it's actually moving. It's actually moving in which direction? Let me see. It's moving toward this star a little bit. It looks like it's moving toward this star. And I think that is the direction it's going in the sky, isn't it?
Sure looks like it.
Yeah. But even on the charts, I think it's moving that way.
Yeah.
Melanie Cravens, welcome. Good to see you here. Thanks for coming. And then there's Doll Eye. Oh, yeah. Didgeridoo. It is very haunting. You're right. I actually, I had animals that would join me on my front porch when I was playing it. I usually would play it after midnight, and I had raccoons come up and just sit there and listen. They looked like they were mesmerized. And then I had, I've told you the skunk story, but I can repeat it for those who didn't hear it if they want to, but it'll be quick. And then I had other animals during the day when I would play it would show up. And I had a fox that was interested in the sound and kept coming around. And I'm in a rural area, but not completely rural. I mean, I have a house about 100 feet to my right and maybe 150 feet to my left. So we have, there's some space between us. So I'm really pretty sure that the animals that we have in this area are pretty special. I know that I had my garage door open. This is when I was talking about the skunk. And this skunk came in right into the garage door, walked right in, and when it saw me, it came over to me, sniffed my foot, and I was kind of in a frozen panic because I was sanding this 8-foot submarine at the time for the Navy. And all I could imagine was the Navy was going to get their submarine and go, oh, what's that smell? Because if I got sprayed, it was going to get sprayed. So I ended up just backing away a little bit, and then I got brave enough to squat down on the ground. So if it was going to spray, it was going to spray at me and not at the submarine. But I was actually interested because this skunk, it seemed like it was saying, it's okay, you can pet me. And I did. I reached out and I pet this wild skunk. and he laid on his side, and I continued to scratch him, and my fingers smelled like skunk, yes. But let me tell you, that little guy followed me around for the next 2 or 3 weeks in my shop. I left the door open every day. He'd come in, we'd walk around. We got very brave around each other. At one point, I would hop over him to get to something, and he would turn around really fast and not lose sight of me and run after me. And it was almost like we were playing, and it was the freakiest thing ever. And I mean, maybe it's because my mother was Native American in part, she was Irish too, but it was interesting. And I think that animals, I think if you're open to them, that they will actually be unafraid of you. But if you really aren't open, if you're really kind of fearful inside, if you're thinking he might have rabies, which is true, I mean, I get it, But if they feel that there's a comfort with you, then they actually will approach you. Don't try that with bears. Okay, bears are unpredictable. I was chased by a bear in my front yard, not because I was trying to be friendly. He was going after my dog, Indy. Indy was my black lab pit bull shepherd mix. And last Friday, unfortunately, she had a sarcoma in her shoulder. That's cancer. And I had to put her down on Friday, and then I left for Nevada on Saturday. So it was a very sad week, without her, and knowing that we had to put her down. I don't like putting down my animals, but I asked the vet what the options were, and the sarcoma was growing so big on her shoulder that it was literally going to burst out of her body like an alien at some point. Not an alien for real, obviously. But, it would have been messy for the dog. She would have been in serious pain at that point. I would end up feeling like I was a real jerk for not helping her out of that situation. So, anyway, here we are again.
Kipling wrote a poem about dogs and people and how dogs tear our hearts.
They do. They do.
I have to look that up.
And
Soul of the Dog, Our Heart to Rend or something.
Yeah. And I got to tell you something.
I'm sorry for your loss.
Oh, thanks. I think it was actually her gain, to be honest. The reason I say that is because when we went to the vet with her, she was always afraid of the vet, cowering, trying to hide, pull away. This time when she went to the vet, she limps in, lays down on a blanket that's on the floor, and then when the vet comes in, she rolls over on her side, puts her head in the vet's lap, and starts licking her. She's never, ever, ever done that before. And it was almost like she's saying, "Oh, thank you, please, put me out of my misery," almost, because I think she was in a lot of pain. She was panting all the time. It was very, very sad, and when she went, it was quietly. She was sedated first, and then they put the pentobarbital derivative, not exactly pentobarbital, into her, and she passed. And Dee Dee, this time I was actually, I was worried in that small room that she was going to go slamming through me. But Indy's always been a little bit aloof. She loved the family, but then she could do without them. She kind of, a little different. The greyhounds I had earlier, they were just so amazing. When they passed, and we had to put them down because they had congestive heart failure. They raced right through me and knocked me off the stool. The first year for Tycho, I went back 2 feet off of a stool, and I was leaning over onto the floor forward off the stool to cradle Tycho's, my male dog's head. And I got hit in the chest when he died. I actually thought I was electrocuted by the stool because I thought it was rolling on an outlet on the floor. 'Cause some of them have outlets on the floor. There were no outlets on the floor in this particular vet. And I went blasting back like 2 feet, hit my lower back on the wall, and now my dog is dead on the floor. And I'm standing up and I straddle the dog and I said, "Did you feel that?" And I'm looking at them. "Did you feel that?" To the vet and to the vet tech. And they're looking at me like, "No, are you okay?" I'm like, "No, I felt her. I felt him. I felt him. He raced right through me." And then a year later, the female did the same thing. And then when she went, and that was Kepler, I was kneeling on the floor for her. And when she went through me so hard that again, from my knees and kneeling and holding her, hunching over to hold her, it blew me backwards up onto the balls of my feet, and then I went and fell backwards. But the vet tech, remembering what happened from last year, was waiting for me, and she caught me. I was like, wow. And she goes, I remembered. So that was pretty wild, and you might say, well, that's so sad, and thank you guys for your condolences, but honestly, this is actually very important, and I stress this because I want, if you ever have to, leave one of your pets for good, put them into their final sleep, I suggest that you the people that join us here are like this. I suggest that you guys make sure you don't miss it, because it's a very valuable feeling. You may get none, like I got nothing with Indy this time, but you might if the dog chooses to go that way, or the cat. And if they do, it'll be an unforgettable experience, let me tell you. I had it happen with my father too. When he passed, I was in the room with him. I was the only one there when he passed, and man, he didn't go plowing through me, but there was a white mass at the end of the bed, a haze that was coming down from the ceiling, and I thought it was water vapor leaking or some toxic chemical. I put my sweatshirt up over my mouth, thinking, ooh, what's that? And then I got this emotion from it. Now, I'm a science guy. You guys know that. I mean, where does this stuff come from? And I thought, wow, what is that? And then I got this emotion of bewilderment that was coming from that white cloud. It was the most amazing thing. It was like, not, oh, wow, this is amazing, this is beautiful, I'm going to the next place. It wasn't that. It was like, what just happened? Where am I? Whoa, this is really different. That's what I got from it. Amazing stuff. Hey, Harley Lene Melland, welcome.
I'm sorry. What would you call that, Mark, as a rational man of science? Spirit? Life force?
I have to say that it's something buried in science we have yet to understand.
Good answer.
That's what I feel. I don't know what to call it, but I don't discount it. And many people, okay, don't consider that this stuff is there waiting for them to experience. And I'll tell you this: when I saw that, and I got this feeling, and then it dissipated and went away, and then I had been holding my father's hand when he was passing, and I looked at his body, and it was a husk. It was empty. I just let go of the hand and dropped it unceremoniously. If someone saw me do it, they would think, what's wrong with you? That's your father. No, it's not anymore. He's over there. This was just a vessel, a body. I am not religious, just so you guys know. I'm just not religious. I am, I guess, I'm seeing glimpses of the stuff that's more than being human, just being human. And I think that's really interesting stuff. I really do.
This is not the time or place. I can tell a story sometime about something besides science. It's extremely personal. I hesitate to even bring it up. I'll tell the story some other time. It's a rather involved story.
All right. Well, I just hope. I hope it was. I hope it's something that was actually a positive experience for you.
Positive? I hope. I guess so. It was meaningful. I'll say that much.
Yeah.
It's a sort of a ghost story.
Yeah.
I'll save that for some other time, though.
Okay, your call. Hey, D. Smith, I'm so sorry. I didn't know you had to put yours down Friday as well. I apologize. Mine was 12 and a half. Yours was 13 plus. And it makes us crazy that we have to do it. And as I left the vets, I was thinking, okay, I just killed my dog. That's what it is. Let's not make any bones about it. It wasn't putting him to sleep. It wasn't anything else. I killed him. I had him killed. That's what it was. And, I have to deal with that. And I'm not going to candy coat it, but the problem is, okay, we've domesticated these wolves and made them part of our lives, part of our homes, part of our families. And, it's not easy to say goodbye, and it never will be. But I do know that um, the animals understand more than we ever give them credit for. And so that's why when Indy went in for the last time to have her final sleep, she literally cozied up to the vet for the first time in her entire life. And she knew. I mean, I'm not trying to anthropomorphize this, okay? She treated the vet like an old friend, and she licked the vet. She wouldn't stop licking her. And she was on the floor. Then the vet got down on the floor and started hugging her because she was like, "Oh, Indy, you're so amazing. I've known you for so many years." And Indy just absolutely ate it up, And then once she was, once she had passed, there was one thing I could definitely tell. I could tell that the room was empty. There was something missing. Indy didn't go racing through me, all right? And when we went into the room with Indy, the room had something more in it. But when we left, it was definitely emptier. And I'm not saying that from an emotional standpoint. I was actually very happy to see that Indy was out of pain. Okay? So, yes, the loss hurts, but you know what? I was treating her far better than if I had just kept her hanging on, because the outcome was going to be far less pleasant, if you can say that. So anyway, it's pretty cool that I would do that. I would never, ever do what some folks have done and just leave the dog at the vet and say, "Call me when it's over." That's the ultimate betrayal. Anyway, I'm reading now in the comments. Melanie's writing something here, and David.
I agree. We love our pets. They love us. I think we have a final duty to be with them when they go.
I agree. We don't put Grandpa down when he gets a cold. But I have trouble with this whole concept of euthanasia. Oh, that's the other pretty word we use. We're going to euthanize you. Oh, really? Is that like they get an award? But, and you know what? I know it's sad, but, this doesn't have to be a sad topic. If anything, you take heart that, this is meaningful, because it shows that we are more than just, an entity that exists. There's a lot more to us. And guess what? Extraterrestrial life. There's been a number of authors who have had experiences with extraterrestrials, as they say. Is it correct? I don't know. It's their subjective views. But they say that some of them say, that one of the things they see in us is this strange duality that they don't have. Interestingly, that's one of them. And that duality has to do with something inside of us that's manipulating the puppet that we are. And that's what they see. And then that's heartening to me, because that shows that, for all of our foibles, all of our failures as a race, fighting amongst each other, we aren't all that bad after all. We actually have something going for us that might have attracted the attention of other species. I think that's pretty cool. And I know I went down this path. This was a crazy path to go down. I apologize, but I just wanted to share the reasons why I might be a little slow tonight, and that was because I'm thinking of my doggy and all that. But we'll see. I mean, she will definitely be with me for some time. All right, let me do this. Let's see, we can't see this. We can't see the great star cluster. This is the globular cluster in Hercules. It's only just rising. But we probably could check this guy out right now. Look at M53, which is a globular star cluster. It's not that far from Pallas. There's Pallas, and here it is. And we also, this is kind of weird, because that's NGC 5053. We might be able to see both of these in the same view. Let's go check it out. Would we be able to see both of those? Look at that. We might be able to just get them both in the view. So let's do this. Let's go to this location. right now, and let's see what we got. Okay, so we're moving now to our new location, and I hope that the dome isn't in the way. If it's in the way, I mean, I can see a star here moving around. We'll take a shot, see what we get. Oh, Melanie, your 7-year-old cat had a kidney disease. Oh, wow. Well, you know, Amanda, of course, she's also, she took in a kitten named Mitten. That she named Mitten, and Mitten was almost dead. And she nursed Mitten back to health, and Mitten is very viable and vital right now. I love it. You've seen Mitten, I think, Daryl?
Oh, absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah, she shared some pictures with me recently, and there are a few videos of her on Amanda's Danny Fan 1 page on YouTube.
Yeah.
Really cute little kitty. She saved it. She called it her Christmas miracle.
Yep.
And the cat's stolen her heart ever since.
That is so cool.
Uh,
Yeah, we got one of them here. And I might want to go back to take a longer exposure. That was M53 we saw up there. So I'm going to go up to 6400 at 10 seconds and see what we get. Actually, you know what I'm going to do? I'm also going to bring up the telescope just a little bit. That's it. I'm going to try that. And here we go. 10 seconds at 6400, which, if in case you're wondering, we went from 2000. Okay, this is several stops higher in sensitivity, but the same amount of time. All right, and now you can see way more stars in this globular cluster of M53, and I have a feeling that I'm just blocking. I'm feeling this is blocking that, so I apologize for that. I can't see 5053 in there, so I'm gonna have to just raise. Look at how beautiful that is, huh? That's actually, you know what? That's actually worth zooming in on alone. So let's do that. Let's bring that up. So I'm gonna bring up our telescope controls, and let's actually bring it more into the view here. We'll hunt for the other one in a bit. All right, we're gonna go over there. Go over there. Wrong way. Feldman. What show is Wrong Way Feldman on? Who knows the answer? We'll do 15 seconds. Daryl, do you know the answer?
I don't. Sorry.
Okay.
I don't watch a lot of network television.
Oh, this was old network television.
I've heard of Wrong Way Corrigan before.
Okay, here we go. Let's see where we are. Look at that. Wow. Okay, it's a little low. I'm going to bring it up higher again. Let's do that. So now we're going to just bring it up again. Telescope.
Amanda's here.
Oh, cool.
And she guesses Gilligan's Island.
And she is right. Amanda, you want to join us? You want to come on with us? When you say all your hellos, you can say them on the air, you know, Amanda. That's fine. Okay, 8,015 seconds. This promises to be one heck of a picture. All right, now she wants to come in. All righty. Well, that's what we'll do. Now, here's what we're going to do. We're going to do this and that. So now I think we're adding her. And it'll be a silent call. She'll be able to answer and pick up. And we're still calling you, Amanda. We've been calling you, Amanda. There we go. Hello, Amanda.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm alright. I totally zoned out. I forgot that you wanted to stream tonight. Sorry.
That's okay.
Hi, Amanda.
Hi, Daryl. You sounded a little low on YouTube. You sound alright here on Skype, but...
Okay, well, I brought the volume up.
Okay.
Now look at this.
I'm on my usual setting.
Look at this. This is beautiful here. This is a globular cluster we're looking at called M53. These clusters are amazing. You notice that the stars have a distinctly different color than the rest. That's probably partially due to the compactness of the ball here. But there's also something else. These stars are lacking elements beyond helium, typically. These are very old stars, and they're like population 2. And these are very, very old. And so we call them metal poor. Anything beyond helium we call metals because we're astronomers. We don't understand chemistry, apparently. Well, actually, that's the convention, that the metals, the things beyond helium, are very short supply in these stars. And these are halo objects, which means that they go around the outside of the galaxy, down through the disk of the galaxy, and orbit the galaxy like that. All right. So sometimes, as one of these plunges through the galactic plane, it may leave some stars behind on the outside, some stragglers, and pull some in. So some of the stars that are seen in these globular clusters might be different than the rest of the stars, and that's how we can identify them, is by looking at the chemical composition. They typically would be very much different. That's the song I was thinking of before, Dusty Fingers. So yeah, this is a beautiful M53, and now let's take a look at another one that's a lot fainter and a lot smaller, and we're going to go check that out now. And where is that? We'll show you in a second. Okay, that is this guy over here, NGC 5053. All right, and that one is of magnitude 9.96, and the one we just looked at is a magnitude 7.7. All right, which means the smaller number is typically brighter, and negative is really bright. We don't ever see them for that. As an example, looking at Diadem here, this star. Okay, this star has a brightness of 4.3, as opposed to 7.7 or 9.98 or 9.96. So let's go to that guy and see what it looks like. We're going to go right to that now. And it's not going to be much of movement, but it's enough movement that we will then have it centered. You can see the stars moving here. Okay, and setting up for us. Okay, and telescope control is still active. When it stops being active, we will be able to do our exposure.
We have some questions coming in.
Awesome.
Tom Brown wants to know what you guys think of Oumuamua.
Ooh, that's an excellent question. Me personally, I mean, I did a ABC special with Douglas Trumbull a couple weeks ago, and Avi Loeb from Harvard Observatory was actually part of it, and he suggested that maybe Oumuamua was a cosmic visitor that was an alien-made spacecraft. But he wasn't saying that. He wasn't saying it for sure. He wasn't saying that it is a cosmic spacecraft. He was just saying that because we didn't have enough data, didn't have a good view of it. We didn't capture any photos of it. So all these images you see of it are just total fabrications in terms of, guesswork in terms. But that's what it looks like. So 5053 is really faint. Very small. I don't know why it's down here. I probably have to do a longer exposure, but that's okay. I just like those two little globular clusters because they're really neat there. So I think Oumuamua was probably not an artificial spacecraft. I tend to think that it was probably just what we thought was a asteroid, a cosmic interloper asteroid that was 10 times longer than it was wide. 700 feet by 70, basically. Which is kind of... Yeah.
Like I said, I totally forgot that you wanted to do this, and I was just thinking to myself, I'm so bored. I mean, I have something I have to do tonight. I have to do it before tomorrow, so I will have other plans, but you know what? Let's play with this idea. Let's play with the Oumuamua for a little bit.
Okay.
Where do we think it may have come from? Other than just like, what is it? First of all, is it a trans-Neptunian object, or is it?
No, it didn't. It
further
didn't.
than that?
It didn't actually come. It came from farther than that. It came from beyond our Oort cloud. In fact, that is, it came from beyond the farthest objects in our known solar system. It's truly from interstellar origins. You see, isn't that incredible?
And we've never sent anything that far. Nothing's ever gone
No.
into the Oort cloud yet.
No, we don't have anything. Well, actually, we do. Well, okay, I got to qualify that. Voyager 2 has passed what we call the heliopause. Okay, that is to say, the area beyond which the sun's influence in terms of radiation and energy is negligible and kind of mixes with the interstellar medium. But it still has gravity out there. The gravity of the sun can still be felt out there. And it turns out, and this is why I'm qualifying this, Voyager 2 is the farthest thing we have right now. And the fact is that the Oort cloud, which are these outermost icy objects from which comets might originate here in our solar system as they get bumped out by a passing star, these comets and so forth might actually extend 3/4 of the way to Alpha Centauri. All right, so 75% of the way to Alpha Centauri, we might have the Oort cloud very, very loosely bound to us at that distance. But that's a very strong possibility. Isn't that crazy? So, but we think that Oumuamua came from even farther than that. It may have come from a location that was, I think it wasn't it came from the direction I think that Vega was in the beginning, but Vega wasn't anywhere near there when Oumuamua was there. So we're not really quite sure from where Oumuamua came, but it had to be ejected from some planetary system somewhere out there.
Okay, so I guess right now the furthest we've been is Ultima Thule, right?
No, Voyager 2 is beyond Ultima Thule.
Has it passed anything we've taken pictures of yet?
Oh, it's...
Besides Pluto?
Well, see, here's the thing. Voyager 2 was sent up decades ago. So it's had all this time to get way, way out there. And it's actually... It's in the zone that we call it's past the heliopause. That is that area where the sun's...
Heliopause?
The heliopause, yeah.
Heliopause.
The influence of the sun diminishes sharply after this point. Okay. And that is kind of where this came from,
See, basically what I'm trying to figure is, okay, let's talk about Ultima Thule then.
Okay.
How long did it take for the pictures to show up on Earth? A few days? From the time it took the picture to actually being visible to someone here on Earth. How long did that transmission take?
It took hours, many hours.
Just hours? Okay.
Well, I mean,
well, I was thinking days, so hours is better.
No, that's okay. I don't.
The actual transmission time, yeah.
Yeah.
It's sending back the data very slowly. So we saw our first image. I think it might have been a couple of days after the pass. You might remember the first snowman image they got back. The actual transmission time is on the order, I forget, like 10 hours or something.
Yeah,
like that.
and you know what's interesting? They send this data, and it's not destroyed on the probe. It's kept on the probe because they send it while the probe has while the probe still has the data, and it's not going anywhere. And the reason is because they want to make sure that the data actually gets here before they can tell the probe to dispense with it. And that's the only thing. Now, Ultima Thule is an interesting object. We looked at it as that snowman. In fact, it's more like two pancakes that connected to each other.
Mm-hmm.
They're actually very flat. And the perspective didn't show it. Now, before you think this is a UFO down here in the corner, we're looking at a lens flare from a bright star just off the field here This is the Black Eye Galaxy. I'm going to move it and show you a little better in a minute. Okay. So here we go. So I'm going to go bring up our
Anyway,
yes,
can you guys guess what my next question's going to be? Because you both know me so well. I think you know where my mind's going.
I'm deathly afraid of what you asked, but that's okay. I'm kidding. Go ahead.
Daryl, do you have a guess?
I have no idea, Amanda.
Really?
I
thought you guys were so on to me already.
You're going to ask me if they first considered naming Ultima Thule Paul and Ringo, the two parts.
No.
Okay.
No, I think it makes sense to be a snowman. It looks kind of like a snowman. It would have been nice if there was a third circle to make a proper snowman, but I'm old school. Anyway, no, listen.
Yeah. We'll listen.
If Oumuamua was a visiting craft,
yes,
by now it would have had enough time to send. If it was a craft taking pictures of us and things around us and stuff, maybe the other planets.
Yeah.
It would have had enough time to sense that there was. I forget what it was called.
Intelligent life on Earth?
No. What Carl Sagan looked back at Earth to see.
The pale blue dot.
Pale blue dot.
No, not the pale blue dot. No, what would it look like for greenery to be?
Oh yeah, that was a reflection indices. Yeah, the Galileo mission. Carl Sagan did ask, and see, Amanda's remembering from one of the things we did on SkyTour Radio. She's right. And stop me when I go off base here with this, Amanda, because I'm not sure. But what you're going to ask, but I'm guessing that it has to do with if Oumuamua was an alien craft, it could have looked at the reflections off of the Earth and detected whether we had vegetation on the planet, water on the planet.
Yeah, it had something to do with vegetation. That was the word I was looking for.
Yep.
And it was what would a planet with our kind of vegetation look like?
Right.
What is... And there's a word and it's driving me crazy and I'll know it when I hear it.
Well, he was saying have Galileo look at the Earth when it was going to Jupiter and see what a vegetated planet looks like from its perspective. And they built a database of what are called these reflection indices, okay, of the planet. And those reflections, if they're not reflections, I'm sorry, reflectance, I apologize, reflectance indices. And the reflectance of the vegetation versus water versus sand all look different. So that is what Galileo looked for. And if Oumuamua was an alien probe, then Oumuamua maybe could have done the same. Doesn't help you, huh?
No, well, I'm stuck on what that term was, but it's okay. But I mean, okay, like say we had taken a picture of Ultima Thule and it did show vegetation or something. What would we do? Like, what would be our next step? Would we try to get that? What took the picture? Was it New Horizon?
Yes, it was New Horizons heading out to the Kuiper Belt. And
would we try to get New Horizons to orbit back? Would we send something new?
We'd have to send something new.
What would be our next step if we saw something and we needed to investigate more?
Think of New Horizons as a ball bearing being, heading out into the outer solar system. All it has is its mass and the inertia, that is its energy from motion that it's going in, and there's nothing that we can do to turn it around. It doesn't have fuel to turn around.
But couldn't we use the push of the sun? Does it have solar
It's being
panels?
pushed away from the sun as it is.
But does it have solar panels? Can we move them to
No.
curve it back around?
No, I don't think that New Horizons has any substantial solar panels, because it's actually too far away actually to make use of the energy from the sun. The energy of the sun falls off in intensity by the square of the distance you are away. So it's pretty far.
What would we do then? What would our next step be? Build something and send it, or
Yep, we'd have to build something new.
Or something we already have built for another mission. Would we?
repurpose or redirect?
Yeah.
It is moving so fast and it is so far away. I doubt we could ever catch up with it with present day technology.
Really? That
You don't mean
I
Ultima
really
Thule.
don't like that.
He's talking about New Horizons, not Ultima Thule.
Well,
Ultima
I'm
Thule.
talking, well, I mean, hey,
Anything
we
now.
can never bring back New Horizons. It's too far away and going too
Yeah.
fast. What I meant was, if I understood Amanda's question correctly, Oumuamua itself, it is so far away and it is moving so fast that
Oh yes,
I don't
Oumuamua.
think
That's
we
correct.
have anything that we can send there.
no, see, I'm thinking. Well, I'm using the example of if Ultima Thule had vegetation, what would we on Earth do to get back there or to get more investigation? Because I'm trying to think. Okay, hypothetically, if Oumuamua was a craft and it discovered vegetation on Earth and it wanted to come back, what would it have to do? What kind of timeline are we talking?
Well,
So I'm just thinking something
we don't know.
far from us.
We don't know how Oumuamua would be propelled if it was an alien craft, but if it was an alien craft, it's using what Avi Loeb suggested from Harvard. He suggested maybe it was a solar sailing craft, so that the sails were furled, folded up when it was approaching the sun because the sun's gravity was pulling it in, and then unfurled as it left to accelerate and move on out.
China did something like that.
Huh?
China did something like that.
Well, the solar sail concept's been around since the 50s, and it's really an interesting concept. But of course, trying to use the energy of the sun to accelerate you is not going to get you there pretty quickly. I mean, you still have to take that time to build up speed. But then, how do you slow down? If you're going a speed that's going to get you there in any reasonable time, you then have to slow down when you get there. How are you going to slow down? Good luck with that. Okay, you can't use gravity because the gravity of the biggest planet, even Jupiter, you'd whip right through Jupiter's system in no time. You would do a parabolic orbit around Jupiter and it would just keep right on going. It wouldn't go in the orbit around Jupiter at the speeds we're talking. So it's probably likely that you'd have to have some way, other technology on board your craft to slow you down. What could that be? Well, that could be a big rocket thruster aiming in the direction you're moving and just fire it. And then that's force that's hitting back. That's force that will be hitting back in your direction so that you'll slow down. Kind of like putting on the